Hare Krishna. Welcome to all the devotees in today's session of the Secrets of Bhagavad. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Today we are going to discuss Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 text number 12. Let us begin. नत्वेवाहं जातुनासं नत्वं नेमे जनाधिपाः न चैव न भविष्यामः सर्वे वयमतः परम्. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. Purport. In the Vedas, in the Katha Upanishad, as well as in the Shvetashvatar Upanishad, it is said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the maintainer of innumerable living entities in terms of their different situations according to individual work and reaction of work. So it's referring to the verse Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam, which is given below. I mean, in the purport, it has been mentioned. Eko bahunam yo vidhati kaman tam atmastham yenu pashyanti dhira tesham shanti shashvati netaresham. And there is similar verse elsewhere. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam eko bahunam yo vidhati kaman. So the overall meaning is that he is the one who is eternal among many eternals. Nityon Jnanam. So these are the statements from Upanishad. So there is no any doubt regarding the truth that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, is eternal and his living beings, all souls, are also eternal. So there is no such confusion here that uh, soul and the God is only a same. So that is that idea has been refuted here by this uh, Upanishad statements. That supreme personality of Godhead is also by his plenary portions alive in the heart of every living entity. So this particular aspect refers to the Paramatma aspect. So Paramatma is a all-pervading feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, who resides in each and every one's heart. So that is Paramatma. Only sentient persons who can see within and without the same Supreme Lord can actually attain to perfect and eternal peace. So the idea is that uh, by the purified senses, when one comes to the platform where we can or he can see God within and without. Only in that condition, the person attains perfect and eternal peace. So the formula is not the as proposed by a class of philosophers called Kevala Advaitins. Or Kevala Advaitins, or in other words, Srila Prabhupada uh, calls them Mayavadis. So these Mayavadis, they try to uh, propagate the idea that there is no difference between uh, soul and God. Actually, everything is Brahma. So whatever differentiation or difference we see or perceive, that is only due to ignorance, and they try to uh, uh, propose a method by which by uh, a person who is in ignorance can come out of that ignorance and eventually realize that actually he is the same Brahman who he was searching for. So that is Keval Advaitin ideas or Mayavadi idea. However, uh, when Upanishads and other Shruti mantras mentioned about realizing God within and without, that actually means seeing the Paramatma within and seeing God's feature in his personal forms like Lord Vishnu, uh, Lord Vasudeva, uh, Lord Sankarshana. So all these personal features of the Lord are visible to those devotees who are purified in their senses. So, in other words, uh, by the process of purification or through bhakti yoga, because bhakti yoga is the process of actual purification where we can realize the supreme personality of Godhead in his personal feature. So uh, we may perceive him as Brahman, which is a effulgence emanating from the transcendental body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. So that is one way of realizing uh, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Or another is Paramatma feature, that is to realize the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, in his Vishnu form within each and every living entity. So that is Paramatma feature. But when we say the personal feature of the Lord, that is his um, uh, that is his own personality that exists in the spiritual world, uh, and the same personality or personal features of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are reflected in its deity forms in this material world, and uh, the Lord Shri Krishna, in his various Vishnu forms, from time and again appears in this material world, and he manifests his different avatars. So, uh, realization of these forms by proper knowledge and thorough purification of the heart, that is actually realizing God without. So within we have to see God as Paramatma, and without, uh, that means seeing the Lord in his personal features as he is always present in his spiritual world. Uh, so that is the uh, actual interpretation of this particular statements. So by word jugglery, Mayavadis try to propose a false theory. Actually, their theory is actually mithya, that actually does not really exist. So that, uh, but however, they claim that there is nothing else than Brahman. In other words, there is only um, God, and there are no living beings. So whatever difference we see between one entity and other entity, or uh, one thing from another thing, or between God and living entities, that's just simply a manifestation of Maya. But actually, they forget to recognize that if such ignorance is so uh, uh, powerful that that ignorance can cover uh, the Brahman, then the all powerful Brahman becomes subordinate to ignorance or Maya. And this is against the conclusion of the Shrutis or Vedas. And because of that, Such a conclusion, a false conclusion, cannot be accepted because Brahma never comes under the jurisdiction of Maya or ignorance. So, uh, we will see how Srila Prabhupada further refutes this Mayavadi idea uh, that is of not seeing any difference between God and living entities. Let us proceed further. नित्यो नित्यानां चेतनश्चेतनानाम् एको बहूनां यो विदधाति कामान् तमात्मस्थं ये नु पश्यन्ति धीराः तेषां शान्तिः शाश्वती नेतरेषाम्. The same Vedic truth given to Arjuna is given to all persons in the world who pose themselves as very learned but factually have but a poor fund of knowledge. So Lord Shri Krishna, being very compassionate toward Arjuna, he gave him this personal knowledge about uh, the uh, Supreme Personality of Godhead and everything that exists in relation to uh, that Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this knowledge is available to everyone, uh, whether somebody is a learned person or half learned person or ignorant person. So that is the uh, compassionate nature of Lord Shri Krishna. The Lord says clearly that He Himself, Arjun, and all the kings who are assembled on the battlefield are eternally individual beings, and that the Lord is eternally the maintainer of the individual living entities, both in their condition and in their liberated situations. So, in the verse, Lord Shri Krishna mentions that we are Arjuna, you, me, and all these kings present. We all are going to be always present. So there will not be any time where we will not be, uh, we will not exist. So it's very simple that we are always existing. And to conclude otherwise, that maybe it is referring to something else, or it is referring to uh, uh, some in a in the perspective of Mayavadis, they call it as a uh, Vyavaharik Paksha. So Vyavaharik Paksha, or they say that it's a Vyavaharik Drashti. So in a ordinary Vyavaharik Drashti or practical Drashti, we have to discriminate like that. But actually, if you see from the in an absolute sense, there is actually no such difference. But uh, there is a question when there is a discourse between two persons, to a highly learned person, and the discussion is directly related to their present context. So it is unexpected that they would use something philosophical terminology at the moment when the context is very practical. So even to ignore that this the Vyavharik Drashti uh, is somehow should not be considered uh, when it comes to philosophical conclusion. So that is not correct because uh, uh, the words explained by uh, Lord Shri Krishna are very clear, and we can clearly see that following these words, Lord Shri Krishna would further explain the science of soul in different ways. So it is a continuation of the same theme of uh, eternity of soul. And Lord Shri Krishna, who is the supreme authority, uh, and he is the supreme personality of Godhead. So he is giving this conclusion. So there is a clear discrimination between God Arjuna, and all the kings present on the battlefield. So, all these practical aspects are also connected to the philosophical conclusions. So, to ignore the this context of Bhagavad Gita or context of Mahabharata and somehow they jump over to something unimaginable or unthinkable uh, philosophical thoughts, that is simply unacceptable. Whenever we try to understand someone's intention, we have to consider the context of when that person says something. So here, within the context, there is nothing unusual to understand that it is talking about the eternity of the soul. In fact, the whole context of this chapter, second chapter, is the it establishes the eternity of the soul. Okay, let's continue. The supreme personality of Godhead is the supreme individual person, and Arjuna, the Lord's eternal associates, and all the kings assembled there are individual eternal persons. Things are very clear. It is not that they did not exist as individuals in the past, and it is not that they will not remain eternal persons. So it's very simple to understand that they always existed as souls. They are still existing as soul, covered with material bodies, and they will continue to exist as soul, maybe in some different bodies. It is not that they did not exist as individuals in the past, and it is not that they will not remain eternal person. Their individuality existed in the past, and their individuality will continue in the future without interruption. Therefore, there is no cause for lamentation for anyone. So, once we accept that soul is always eternal, and actually there is uh, nothing as killing someone's soul. So Arjuna is worried about killing his superiors, his grandfather Bhishma, his teacher Guru Dronacharya. However, uh, you should understand that actually is not going to kill them anyway, because they are souls, they are eternal. So he may have to kill their material bodies, but it's there is no way he's going to uh, kill their existence. So that is the conclusion of Jnana Shastra, or the uh, scriptural statements belonging pertaining to the jnanam or knowledge. So there is true knowledge of the scriptures. So there are hierarchies uh, between levels of shastric statements as far as knowledge is concerned, and this knowledge about the soul is the highest in that regard. So in the previous verse we discussed that Lord Shri Krishna argued that uh, Arjuna, you are uh, giving more importance to dharma shastra in relationship to artha shastra. So that is fine, but I am giving my arguments on the basis of Jnana Shastra, and this Jnana Shastra is superior to Dharma Shastra. So you should consider the Jnana Shastra, the conclusion of Jnana Shastra, and uh, you should not be worried about the ordinary conclusions of Dharma Shastra. Though your conclusion uh, is based on knowledge, but it is not based on the highest knowledge. So that is the sin here. Next, the Mayavadi theory that after liberation, the individual soul, separated by the covering of Maya or illusion, will merge into the impersonal Brahman and lose its individual existence is not supported herein by Lord Krishna, the supreme authority. So, uh, Mayavadis or Keval Advaitins believe that once we attain moksha, then the individuality of soul gets uh, destroyed. So that individual does not really exist. He merges into the Brahman. So the Brahman means that always exists, that is eternal, and that is undividable. So uh, whatever divisions we see, that is only due to ignorance. So knowledge helps us to regain that original position of Brahman. uh, there is not actually even merging into something. It is something like, realizing that you are already a Brahman. So that's their theory, but actually from the uh, words of Lord Shri Krishna, we can clearly see that soul, uh, like Arjuna, and souls in the uh, bodies of kings, and Lord Shri Krishna, who is the maintainer of all these souls, they always exist. Now, uh, there is no way we can interpret this particular conclusion in any other way. So it is very apparent that the existence of God and existence of soul is always eternal. So liberation does not uh, destroy this existence. That individuality always remains intact even after liberation. Because uh, if you see the words, नत्वेवाहं जातुनासं न त्वं नेमे जनाधिपा न चैव न भविष्यामः न चैव न भविष्यामः. So don't think that we will not exist like this. So that's very clear. We are always going to exist as the individual person. So where is the question of uh, uh, getting someone's individuality merged with the Supreme Brahman? It simply does not exist. Such concept actually does not exist. Next. Nor is the theory that we only think of individuality in the conditioned state supported herein. Krishna clearly says herein that in the future also the individuality of the Lord and others, as it is confirmed in the Upanishads, will continue eternally. This statement of Krishna's is authoritative because Krishna cannot be subject to illusion. Now, someone may conclude that these are the statements from Lord Krishna. He may be a great person, but he may not be situated in perfect knowledge. However, uh, this is not the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, because and not just Bhagavad Gita, but many great sages do not approve of this opinion that Lord Shri Krishna is some ordinary person. He is supreme personality of God, Godhead, and Sri Vyasadeva, from in the very beginning of Bhagavad Gita, he uses the title Sri Bhagavan Uvacha while referring to Lord Shri Krishna. So it is very clear that he is the supreme authority. Next, if individuality were not a fact, then Krishna would not have stressed it so much, even for the future. The Mayavadi may argue that the individuality spoken of by Krishna is not spiritual but material. Now, there is Srila Prabhupada is raising an argument on behalf of Mayavadis. Now, he will answer that. Even accepting the argument that the individuality is material, then how can one distinguish Krishna's individuality? Krishna affirms his individuality in the past and confirms his individuality in the future also. He has confirmed his individuality in many ways, and impersonal Brahman has been declared to be subordinate to him. So, here, to put it in simple words, Lord Shri Krishna is uh, uh, eternal, and though he may appear to be like a human being, but actually he always appears in his transcendental form. And in that sense, his individuality always remains as it is. So that is, if we take the argument that this demarcation is only in material terms, but what about Krishna? Krishna is always spiritual. It does not change his body. So uh, why would Krishna involve any spiritual element uh, in the discussion where material things are discussed? So from that perspective, also this particular argument is null and void, because that cannot be accepted. Krishna has maintained spiritual individuality all along. If he is accepted as an ordinary conditioned soul in individual consciousness, then his Bhagavad Gita has no value as authoritative scripture. So why are we studying Bhagavad Gita? Uh, that should be a very simple argument for any intelligent person. Why why are we giving so much importance to studying Bhagavad Gita? Why not any other scripture? Because this Bhagavad Gita was spoken by the supreme authority. So even understanding from the simple logic that uh, giving more importance to something necessarily mean that that has some higher value, some higher importance. So why would we study some ignorant person's idea? So Lord Shri Krishna is not any individual ordinary person. He is God. He is the supreme personality of Godhead, and that is why sages are discussing about him, and all sampradayas are discussing his words. Otherwise, there is no need to take trouble to study his words. There could be many things in the Shastras, but why particularly Bhagavad Gita? Those who attended the first sessions of our Secrets of Bhagavad Gita, we had mentioned that uh, in the Prasthana 3, this Smriti Prasthan is Bhagavad Gita. So Prasthanatrayi includes Shruti Prasthan, Smriti Prasthan, and Nyaya Prasthan. So out of these three, the Smriti Prasthan, or the very important scripture among all Smriti or Smriti Granthas, is Bhagavad Gita. Though this Bhagavad Gita appears in Mahabharata, but Bhagavad Gita uh, has a superlative importance or other scriptures. That is because it was spoken by Lord Shri Krishna. And Lord Shri Krishna is the supreme authority. Next, a common man with all the four defects of human frailty is unable to teach that which is worth hearing. It's a very important point because any ordinary person has four defects: Brahm, Pramad, Vipralsa, uh, Karna, uh, Karna Patavam. So, Brahm means to be illusion, Pramad means to commit mistakes, um, Vipralipsa means to cheat others, and Karna Patam means to have imperfect senses. So, due to these natural faults, a living being, or an ordinary living being, is not able to uh, give perfect knowledge. So, uh, whenever knowledge comes down from the highest source, from the absolute authority, Lord Shri Krishna, then only that knowledge can be accepted as perfect. So, through Guru Shishya Parampara, we receive the same knowledge spoken by Lord Shri Krishna, uh, and uh, we are supposed to carry that knowledge to the next generation. So, this is the understanding of Guru Parampara. So we do not claim that we know anything on our own. So whatever we know, it is because of the uh, Guru Parampara, and the meaning of Guru Parampara, that it carries the same message spoken by Lord Shri Krishna to the present generation. So, so uh, uh, the other day we were discussing about motivational speakers, or not mentioning anything about Guru Parampara or very scriptures in relation to our preaching. So we should clearly understand that actually to speak without referring to very scriptures uh, is another way of cheating people. That constitutes vipralipsa, a sort of vipralipsa. Vipralipsa means even if we know, we do not reveal it to others. So when we speak something, we should immediately recognize that the source of my words are Vedic authorities, so that the person who is hearing us will not be misled. So whenever he will have some confusion, he will refer to those scriptures, and he will not misinterpret those scriptures. And also, not mentioning Vedic scriptures also somehow creates personality cults. Personality cults means people get influenced by some extraordinary personalities, and they uh, start following those personalities. So this kind of natural tendency may be there in the society, because yadyat ajrati shrestha tattadevitaro janaha. So generally, uh, people need some leaders. So they need some great personalities. So it is natural that they would try to follow something. But if we present uh, the words of Vedic scriptures or words of Lord Shri Krishna in a way that will encourage the personality cults. In other words, people will uh, uh, judge those instructions based on the personalities. They will not, uh, they do not actually value Vedic scriptures or value God or uh, this Guru Parampara. They only value that particular person. So, uh, so this kind of impression is not conducive for the follower, because uh, by creating such impression, indirectly we are promoting ourselves above scriptures, and that is against humility. So, though we may say that we are trying to benefit them, and so we may have to sometimes accept such roles, but it's a very risky business. It's a very risky business. Actually, um we are actually misleading them, because they may misinterpret our word. There is a strong possibility that whatever we may say, they may apply it in a adharmic way. So when we give reference to very scriptures, then they will have to think 10 times before they misinterpret those words. So anyway, let us continue. The Gita is above such literature. No mundane book compares with the Bhagavad Gita. When one accepts Krishna as an ordinary person, the Gita loses all importance. The Mayavadi argues that the plurality mentioned in this verse is conventional, and that it refers to the body. So this is the argument of Mayavadi. They say that this uh, particular argument by Lord Shri Krishna, that we will always exist. So that refers to material body. That we will always have this material body. So don't worry. But previous to this verse, such a bodily conception is already condemned. What was that? Let us see. The very first instance where Lord Shri Krishna studies Arjuna was Gata Suna Agata Sumsha Nanu Shochanti Panditaha. So when Lord Shri Krishna has already uh, condemned Arjuna's lamentation for temporary material body, how can he again use this analogy here? in the next verse. Even the context does not fit here. So this is a particular argument that the uh, Lord Shri Krishna's analogy should be understood in terms of material bodies. So that is completely destroyed. After condemning the bodily conception of the living entities, how was it possible for Krishna to place a conventional proposition on the body again? Therefore, individuality is maintained on spiritual grounds and is thus confirmed by great acharyas like Sri Ramanuja and others. It is clearly mentioned in many places in the Gita that this spiritual individuality is understood by those who are devotees of the Lord. Bhaktosi me sakha jeti rahasyam etaduttamam. So only a devotee can understand the science of uh, God or the science of Bhagavad Gita. Those who are enemies of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead have no bona fide access to the great literature. So they may try to read it and interpret it or try to preach it in their own ways, but actually they are not um qualified to act as preachers of Bhagavad Gita. So unfortunately, in today's society, there is no restriction over such preachers because even a person who knows little about Bhagavad Gita, and that's also not unauthentic. So he also tries to speak about Bhagavad Gita and tries to convince others uh, in his own so-called understanding. But actually, that is discouraged in very culture. So if someone wants to preach about Bhagavad Gita, then he should first uh, answer all the uh, arguments regarding his particular understanding. So this Mayavadis, though in the previous days they tried their best, but they were confronted by other Vaishnavacharyas, and time and again the Shastras took place, and nowadays the frequency is very less, but still there are some confrontation between this Mayavadis and the Vaishnavas. So it's not that whatever mata or whatever opinion one may have, it will pass on to the society without being confronted. So uh, great Vaishnava acharyas have given their elaborate commentaries on the understanding of Bhagavad Gita, and they have refuted all the arguments of the Kevala Advaitis or Mayavadis. So we should read those commentaries, and Srila Prabhupada, out of his causeless mercies, has given this conclusion in a very simple words. Okay, let me complete. It'll take only 1 or 2 minutes. The non-devotee's approach to the teachings of the Gita is something like that of a bee licking on a bottle of honey. One cannot have a taste of honey unless one opens the bottle. Similarly, the mysticism of the Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by devotees and no one else can taste it, as it is stated in the fourth chapter of the book. Nor can the Gita be touched by persons who envy the very existence of the Lord. Therefore, the Mayavadi explanation of the Gita is a most misleading presentation of the whole truth. Lord Chaitanya has forbidden us to read commentations made by the Mayavadis and warns that one who takes to such an understanding of the Mayavadi philosophy loses all power to understand the real mystery of the Gita. If individuality refers to the empirical universe, then there is no need of teaching by the Lord. The plurality of the individual soul and of the Lord is an eternal fact, and it is confirmed by the Vedas as above mentioned. So there is no need of any confusion here. Lord Shri Krishna, being the supreme authorities, has clarified to Arjuna before speaking to this verse. He already condemned Arjuna's lamentation for temporary material bodies. So he is not again comparing uh, all these uh, uh, soldiers on the battlefield and Arjuna and himself. in terms of material designations. So things are very clear, and who knows the context of the Bhagavad Gita can clearly understand that how Bhagavad Gita naturally proceeds towards Bhakti Yoga or surrender to Lord Shri Krishna. Okay, I will stop here. Time is also up. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय थैंक यू